Yes, hello and welcome to Footy Talk for your Monday, the place for all the best AFL news and reviews. My name is Jay Clark. I'm joined by the queen of our screens, the superstar at Channel 7, rising star selector, all-Australian selector. She's a font of all AFL knowledge. Abbey Holmes, how are you?
Hello, I'm very well. Is it a Red Bull gives you wings kind of morning for you, is it?
Yes, we had a school ball on Saturday night and the recovery is still continuing,
Yeah.
it's fair to say. But what a massive round of AFL and can start. There are two massive concerns to come out of this round for me. And I think the first one is obviously Melbourne, who, and you don't see this in the AFL very often, but it was a white flag in the red centre in the loss to Fremantle. They turned up their toes, Abbey, and for a team which has a lot of talent, potentially too reliant on Max Gawn, they just didn't show up at all. The old, we didn't come to play. Do you agree?
I 100% agree, and I feel sorry for the people of Alice Springs who get their one AFL game a year. Lots of Dees supporters, obviously, in the red centre, and that was the kind of effort that was supplied by Simon Goodwin and his team. And it was from the opening bounce, really, wasn't it? I mean, you know, they had a really, I guess, a good crack for the opening few minutes. But after that, it was all Fremantle. A 92-point victory. There's so many things that I could say about this game, but 132 uncontested marks for Fremantle. Where's the defence? Pressure up. Stop that. You've got to cut out Fremantle's strengths, don't you? 48 points from clearance from Fremantle versus Melbourne's 3 behinds. This is a midfield group that has prided itself for many, many years on their contested ability. That was non-existent.
That's the brand.
That is their brand.
Contest and defence. I've heard Simon Goodwin say that so many times. And that, as you point out, at the weekend, they had 37 inside 50s, right, to Fremantle 68. Against West Coast 2 weeks ago when they lost over there, they had 35. How is an engine room, Abbey Holmes, featuring Clayton Oliver and Christian Petrarca, come up with 35 and 37 entries twice in a 3-week patch? That is as pox as it gets.
It is unheard of for this Melbourne side. And put that 21 flag aside, right, because I'm looking at this group as, like, they should have potentially been able to go through a Hawthorn era with the talent that they've had across the board. I understand they've had their issues over the years with their scoring and their forward line in particular. Their defence is so strong. Their midfield and their contested work has been their brand, as you said. But I was shocked yesterday with what I saw. And, you know, Luke Ryan, he's having an amazing season for the Dockers. He had 18 marks, 18 uncontested marks.
Amazing.
You would think that somebody might be able to go over to old Luke Ryan and just put some body on him because he is one of the best defenders in the game at this point in time. Jordan Clark was unbelievable. And you can't take anything away from Fremantle because they were very impressive. 22 goals, 9, efficient in their forward half. But I'm concerned about this Melbourne side, and it sets up King's Birthday Monday massively, doesn't it? And beautifully, because they're coming up against an undermanned Collingwood side. If they don't get the 4 points on Monday, I've got serious concerns.
So from their fan base perspective, and we'll finish up on this in a sec, so they were out in straight sets in 2022. Then they were out in straight sets last year. We knew it was heart-wrenching. 7-point loss, 2-point loss. They had so much supply, couldn't be efficient forward. Where do you set the bar for Melbourne this year? What was the pass and the fail, and other ramifications for Simon Goodwin? Because what if they don't win a final again this year? That means they go 3 years with a prime team, which you just described. They won a flag in 2021. What if they don't win a final?
Well, that's the worry, isn't it? And if you're a Melbourne supporter, you just want to see the effort. And that wasn't there on the weekend. And back-to-back years of straight exits in a final series. For me, I absolutely had Melbourne as a top 4 side. So, therefore, what we're seeing from them midway through the season, I understand players get tired and fatigued and everyone's looking forward to the buys and rejuvenating midway through the year. But I've said it a million times, but I was really concerned watching that.
Solo ruck strategy with Max Gawn. I think he needs some support in there. I don't know how I know he's a superstar, but is he wearing down? Like, how's he going to be going at the business end of the season? I think they need a second big man. They tried with Brodie Grundy. It didn't work, and now they just haven't got one.
And it was interesting with Darcy and Jackson. That actually worked, didn't it, on the weekend?
Jackson looks unbelievable.
So everyone's going, shut up. It's going to work. Just give it time.
And that's where you got to give Justin Longmuir his credit because he
Yeah.
deserved. We said his game plan sucked. Everyone said it was boring. They couldn't score. They were pox. Well, didn't his head hit the pillow
Yep.
very comfortably
Shoved it up him.
on Sunday night? Hey, Harley Reid's a massive story. We're going to get to Adelaide as well because they were awful in the first half. Serious concerns about your mob, Adelaide. That was just a horrific first half against Hawthorn as well. But Harley Reid, so he's got the 2 matches for the sling tackle against Darcy Wilson. For mine, it was there. It's consistent with everything else. The suspension stands and stands quite nicely, I think. Do you think, and you're on the Rising Star panel, so you got a great lens on this.
Yeah.
Do you think the suspension should count in the Rising Star eligibility? Should it be a thing, or should Harley Reid be able to win the Rising Star regardless of whether he's sat 2 weeks on the sidelines with this suspension?
Well, firstly, I'm with you on the suspension.
Yep.
The action was there, and that's exactly what we're trying to stamp out of the game. So I'm 100% on board for him receiving weeks. As you said, I am a selector for the All-Australian and Rising Star, but I think for a Brownlow, it is the best and fairest of the competition. So therefore, that fairest aspect comes into it. Of course, we know that if you get suspended, I should say, you are ineligible to win the Brownlow medal. But when it comes to the best young talent in the competition, do I think that fairest aspect needs to be there? Probably not, from my opinion. I think it needs to be the best young talent coming through. And these are guys that are still learning their craft, learning the game, learning the situations and the heat of battle in those moments. So, I understand its history and that's the way that it's been, and they're not going to change it mid-season. But moving forward, does the fairest aspect need to be there? I'm not sure.
What if it's a different type of suspension? What if it's a strike, if it's an elbow, if it's a knee?
Yeah.
So that was a football act. We see a tackle. He's a bit stiff. His execution of the tackle wasn't perfectly. The problem I have with that is that if you do take the suspensions out of it, what if there is a bad one?
Yeah.
So that's the issue I have. So
I mean, Sam Darcy, like on, what was that, Friday night?
Yep.
I don't even know what
in the
day
back
it
of
is.
Maynard, yep.
Yeah, see, that's an incident that you're looking at going,
Yep.
It's a bit dicey,
Yep.
isn't it?
Yep.
So there are very different acts there. Sam Darcy versus Harley Reid, footballing act.
Yep.
Sam Darcy had the line of sight of Braden Maynard directly there. He knew kind of what he was doing and where he was going.
Yep.
But no, it is a tricky one, isn't it?
I think with these sorts of things, and the Rising Star is a bit gimmicky. You look back, Lewis Taylor won. There was Jaden Stevenson in 2018. Like Marcus Bontempelli wasn't even the Rising Star of this year. It is a bit of a gimmicky award. So I don't think you can ask it to be perfect, I think, when it's a subjective assessment week by week with the nominations anyway. So I'm okay with it as it is. And now it's Colby McKercher or Georgie Wardlaw from North Melbourne, Kai Lohman, which you wouldn't have picked at the start of the year.
Darcy Wilson's been good too. There's so many great young players coming through, but you would have thought that the two favourites, what are the chances that the two potential favourites for the Rising Star, 1 and 2, bang, in the same round?
Yeah.
Same round. They're ineligible, potentially. But
Bookies are happy.
Oh, my goodness.
that's
unheard of.
That's about it. Hey, Dustin Martin, he is 1 game away from his 300th. Interesting that Richmond coach Adam Uze, and well done to the Tigers, were very competitive against the Cats for 3 quarters, up by 29 points at one stage. So Dusty, it sounds like, along with some other Richmond veterans, won't be on the plane to take on Adelaide on Thursday night. It's a short break, a 5-day break. How do you see this? Do you think Dusty should be managed like this? Because if he does miss, it means he gets to play Hawthorn and he's 300th at the MCG in front of his adoring fan base.
How can they possibly manage some of their senior players given the injury concerns that they have at the moment? Like, I'm heartbroken for Lafau, who goes down with an ACL injury. He's been so good since coming in and filling the void of a Tom Lynch missing through injury.
Loved his efforts. Yep.
Yeah, and 5 ACLs at the club. It's, poor buggers. If you're Adam Uze, what happened with his black cat situation? I don't know what I've done.
Ladders.
But for Dustin Martin, does he want that? Does he want to be rested this Thursday, to be given a 300th at the MCG against Hawthorn in front of 60-odd thousand? That's not his brand, I don't feel. I don't feel like Dusty cares about how many people are in the stands watching him for game 300. I think Dustin Martin cares the most about giving everything that he possibly can to his football team and his side and helping them win games of footy. If that means that his 300th game falls on Thursday night at the Adelaide Oval against the Adelaide Crows, I think Dusty just wants to do what he can for the team. It's not about him getting the most bums on seats for his 300th, put it that way.
And I think potentially this is where the club has actually removed that decision for him in a way. And I wonder, like, if they were competing for final spots, etc., and it was late in the season, I would agree with you. But in this situation, when they're going to finish bottom two anyway, and it doesn't really count, as long as they can get a fit team out there, I think they can get players back. I think maybe this could be something in 5 and 10 years' time that he will reflect on and like and enjoy more so post career. I mean, I think when he comes off the MCG against Hawthorn, his 300th, it's going to be a pretty special moment, and it will be so interesting to see whether he gets emotional because he's been such a private guy and put the curtain up a little bit. You haven't seen a lot of, other than him kicking goals and being happy about winning.
Yeah.
Is he going to be emotional around the Guard of Honour and being chaired off and just having that spotlight on him? I think how he just behaves in that moment is going to be so fascinating.
Definitely.
So I like the fact that it's being handled this way. Clearly, he's been sore at times this year, and the club are really mindful of his body. So if we get a fresh and fit Dustin Martin in his 300th at the MCG with a packed crowd, 60, 70,000 or something like that, I don't mind the romance in it. They're not playing finals. So I don't mind that it's sort of been managed a little bit that way.
God, I love him though. I love Dustin Martin. I love I love the mystery behind him as well.
Yep.
I love that he just wants to go out there and let his footy do the talking. He's not interested in media. He's not interested in having a bloody 300th press conference. Like, he just wants to go out there and play football.
Yep.
But it would be nice, wouldn't it? Saturday afternoon, 4:35 bounce. Have a few beers after the game. Like, it's early enough that you can.
Yep.
So watch this space, hey?
I don't mind it. Hey, what about your footy team, Adelaide, against Hawthorn? Well done to the Hawks because
well done, Hawks.
Their past 4 or 5 weeks, I think, has been really strong. Remember Sam Mitchell after that really poor loss to Gold Coast? Said some hard things to say in the press conference, didn't he? We weren't good enough. We got to bring our mouth guards this week. That's not what we stand for. It was a really strong statement in that presser. And their past 5 weeks have been excellent. And he's had wins in the coach's box. At the weekend, again, having James Sicily working him free to be able to peel off and control the back line. Dill Moore will be in your All-Australian discussions for sure. Another 5 goals at the weekend. And that engine room's clicked again.
It has. So credit to Hawthorn, first and foremost. Yep. They've won, 4 of the last 5 and Hawks ball.
Yep.
As we've been known now.
Should have beaten Port Adelaide.
Should have beaten Port Adelaide as well. So they're certainly in the conversation, still pushing around that, 8th through 12th kind of position, which is great. But from an Adelaide perspective, you're really disappointed.
Stinky.
And Hawthorn beat them at their own game, right? Because they're renowned for their pressure on the footy at the contest, and then their ability to get that ball movement going. Handball linking up through the centre of the ground and then hitting targets inside 50. But the supply just wasn't there. In that third quarter, though, they kicked 5 goals from 8 entries. So they were efficient when the ball went in there, but they just didn't get enough supply. Losing Taylor Walker early to a back injury certainly didn't help either. I mean, Braden Cook, he looks very good. 3 goals for him.
Yep.
But the lack of contest, they didn't have that usual dare that we've become accustomed to seeing with them when they are up and about. Jordan Dawson, unfortunately, was a little bit flat, but they all looked flat. That's the thing. It wasn't just 1 or 2 or 3 players that made the difference. It was the entire team just looked far off it.
Yep.
And that was a really big opportunity for that team. If they get the 4 points there, they've got Richmond this week. It sets up their season really well to the midway point, and they just didn't live up to the expectations and certainly didn't grab that opopportunity.
Maybe they get a soft kill against Richmond on Thursday night, and that's not meant to be disrespectful, but it's an easier game for them. They kicked 2 goals 6. Sorry, Abby. They kicked 2 goals 6 to half time, which is awful. So I don't count what happened in the third quarter because the pressure was off. They were going to lose. The game wasn't on the line. Do you agree with? Easier to do it in your goals in the first quarter when the game was on the line and early on throughout your magnificent career. They're the ones that count more than when you're down by 40 points and everyone's asleep in the stands.
I agree, absolutely. And it was very disappointing. The good thing for Adelaide is that they've got a lot of games at home
coming
on the home stretch of the season. So they are very good at the Adelaide Oval. They don't travel as well. So that is a positive for all the Crows fans out there.
Now, I put a line through them. They can't play finals, so...
Yeah. How about those Suns? They have to be. They were unbelievable yesterday.
Mac Andrews quickly become one of my favourite players.
Mate, they're in 8th.
He's like the Inspector Gadget back there.
He's very good to watch as well, isn't he?
And it looks like he's in first gear, don't you reckon? Like
Yep.
he's just so, I don't know, like he's just so seemingly so relaxed. So I love
Yeah.
that sort of chilled out vibe. But then he just jumps on people's backs and takes marks and balks them. He could be, for me, he's one of the most exciting players in the competition.
I agree. I love watching him go about his business. But yeah, the Suns were so good.
Yep.
King, another 4 goals
Yep.
in Coleman medal contention.
Yep.
Benny Long, love that from him in game 100,
Yep.
I think it was.
Hard nut.
Hard nut. And then that midfield group is as good as any when it's up and running.
Yep.
We've
We've got to see it on the road, though.
Yeah, we do. They can't win on the road.
Yeah.
They're so good at home.
Yep.
But you're right. For Dimmer, the big test is being able to pull together some wins over the next month or so when you are travelling.
When that turns, though, when they do start doing that, it'll be a force of nature. Who have you got? So on Sunday night, we're going to have a 92,000 strong crowd.
Oh, my God.
Second biggest game of the season behind Anzac Day. The King's Birthday Eve game, I think, is becoming bigger than the actual King's Birthday game.
Yeah.
You got Collingwood, Melbourne on. We're all talking about Carlton versus Essendon the night before. We got 2 All-Australian captain candidates up against each other, in Cripps and Zach Merritt. That's no disrespect to Marcus Bontempelli. He'd be in the conversation as well. And then you got the battle of the Mackay boys, Ben versus Harry.
Cannot wait.
Who, if you had to put it in a time capsule, who wins this individual matchup?
Individual matchup.
Harry or Ben?
Oh, I have to go Harry.
You're going Harry?
Yeah.
I'm going Ben.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going Ben.
But it's so good because you look at the Bombers defensively and you look at the Blues offensively.
Yep.
Ben Mackay gets that matchup.
Yep.
Harry this season has been attracting the best defender in opposition sides so far.
Yep.
So it's not as though they're not going to play each other. I think that is a hard lock matchup for 4 quarters.
How niggly will they be before the first bounce? There has to be a bit of brotherly niggle, don't you reckon?
Yeah.
If I'm Ben, I'm into his back just to add a bit of theatre. The people will love it. It's going to be sold out, and they're doing some special stuff pre-game.
Yeah.
There's going to be just go along, and the pre-game, the special Danaher, the freeze bit is going to be awesome. So I can't wait for that. Hey, before we finish, this always comes up. You are, again, magnificently placed on the All-Australian selection panel. Are you going to put midfielders everywhere? Or are you going to pick like people like Dillmore, who deserves his dues and his respect, and play him in a half-forward position? Where do you stand on that?
Do you know what? So we had our first meeting all together last week.
Is it robust and tense?
Robust and intense, yes, because do you know what? Everybody sees it differently, which is great. Like, it's exciting. I mean, everybody's got an opinion on different players, but there are so many watchers throughout the entire league, and that is exciting from a competition perspective.
Yep.
To know that there are so many quality performers that we are going to have an extremely bloody difficult job trying to squeeze them all into an All-Australian team. So, the question that I get asked all the time is positional. A wing's going to be on the wing, or are you going to put a midfielder at half forward, a half back, or whatever it might be.
Yep.
There's still plenty to play out for the rest of the year. But yeah, it is such a challenge. And that was my first experience, as I said last week.
Yep.
So it is an eye-opening experience, but one that I'm absolutely honoured to be a part of.
Okay.
It's a challenge.
I hope you got Nick Martin on your list of candidates. I hope you got
I
Dillmore
can't
on your
tell
list
you.
of
I
candidates.
can't tell you, but there are some amazing players out there.
I guarantee you one thing, right? What we'll do is when you name your team at the end of the year, and you'll have 22 on the team. You don't get to name a sub as well. It's just a 22. We'll find the 23rd or the 24th player. Oh, my God, Abby Holmes. How did you miss this guy?
I know.
He had average 30 possessions a year. So
you can't win, though, can you?
You can't win.
Never.
Get ready for that. It is one of the toughest calls of the year. All right, Abby Holmes, you've been a superstar. Can't wait to see you on Channel 7. Are you doing Sunday night's game?
I am. Can't wait. What's the record? 91,500. I reckon we might beat it.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Huge.
It's going to be a great atmosphere. Thank you so much for listening to Footy Talk for your Monday. This is a place for all the best news, analysis. Leave a review, subscribe, like, and then tune in to the St Kilda Mafia. It's Lee Montagna and Nick Rewald, who has just been in the headlines for Footy Talk week after week after week. I'm looking forward to what punchy sort of opinion he's going to deliver tomorrow. That's Tuesdays, of course. This is Jay and Abbey signing off for Footy Talk.